You're at work, trying to focus on an important email. The words blur together. You read the same sentence 3 times and still don't know what it says. Your colleague asks you a simple question and you snap at them for no reason. Then you eat lunch, and suddenly the fog lifts. The email makes perfect sense. You feel bad about being short with your colleague. We've all been there. Most of us blame it on low blood sugar and move on. But there's something far more interesting happening in your brain when you're hungry. Something that explains not just why you can't concentrate, but why you become a different person entirely. Today, we're going to look at what hunger actually does to your mind, and I promise you it's not what you think. Let me start with what you probably already believe. When you haven't eaten, your blood sugar drops. Your brain needs glucose to function. Low glucose equals poor brain performance. End of story. Except it's not the end of the story. It's barely the beginning. Here's what made me question this simple explanation. Studies show that your blood sugar doesn't have to drop very much for you to feel mentally impaired. In fact, you can feel foggy and irritable when your blood sugar is still well within the normal range. And here's the stranger part. Drinking a glucose solution doesn't always fix the problem right away, even though your blood sugar normalizes within minutes. So what's really going on? Your brain, it turns out, doesn't just respond to how much energy it has right now. It responds to the threat of not having enough energy in the future. And that changes everything. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. For most of human history, not knowing where your next meal was coming from was a genuine survival threat. Your brain needed a way to respond to that threat immediately, not just when you were literally starving. So it developed a system. A very old, very powerful system that kicks in the moment your body senses that food might be scarce. When you're hungry, your brain doesn't just slow down, it reorganizes its priorities completely. Imagine your brain as a company with a limited power supply. When times are good, it can run every department: planning, creativity, patience, empathy, complex reasoning. But when the power starts running low, it has to make choices. And the first thing it does is shut down anything that isn't essential for immediate survival. This is controlled largely by a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. When your stomach is empty and your blood sugar starts to dip, the hypothalamus detects this. But instead of just noting it passively, it interprets it as stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline among them. These hormones are designed to help you in a crisis. They make you alert to danger. They prime your body for action. They sharpen your focus on immediate threats. But here's the trade-off. They do this by temporarily suppressing your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for self-control, planning, emotional regulation, and rational decision-making, the sophisticated, uniquely human part. When you're hungry, you literally have less access to your highest cognitive functions, not because you lack fuel, but because your brain has deliberately shifted into a more primitive mode of operation. This is why hunger doesn't just make you slow, it makes you different. You've probably noticed this. When you're hungry, small annoyances become intolerable. You're impatient, you're cynical. You focus on what's wrong rather than what's right. Your partner makes a harmless comment and suddenly you're in an argument. This isn't a character flaw. It's an ancient survival mechanism expressing itself in a modern context. When your brain thinks food is scarce, being agreeable and patient isn't useful. What's useful is being vigilant, reactive, and focused on immediate needs. In a hunter-gatherer environment, this made perfect sense. You needed to be irritable and alert when you were hungry. It kept you motivated to find food and aware of threats while you were in a vulnerable state. But in the modern world, where food is typically a short walk to the kitchen away, this same mechanism causes problems. You don't need to be hyper-vigilant in a meeting. You don't need to be reactive when responding to emails. You don't need to interpret your partner's tone as a threat. But your brain doesn't know that. It's responding to a signal that, for millions of years, meant something urgent. There's even research showing that hunger affects our moral reasoning. In studies, people who are hungry are more likely to make self-serving decisions and less likely to consider others' perspectives. They're more focused on their own needs because, from a survival standpoint, that's exactly what information. First, stop judging yourself. That foggy, irritable version of you isn't the real you breaking through. It's a different neurological state, one optimized for survival, not for spreadsheets and conversations. Second, plan around it. If you have an important decision to make, don't make it on an empty stomach. Not because you need more glucose, but because you need your prefrontal cortex fully online. You want access to your patience, your perspective, your ability to see nuance. Before a difficult conversation with someone you care about, eat something. Not to calm yourself down, but to ensure you're bringing your full cognitive capacity to the interaction. And third, extend this understanding to others. When someone is being short with you, when they seem unreasonable or reactive, consider the possibility that they're not revealing their true character. They might just be hungry. They might be in a different neurological state than you are. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it does explain it. And explanation creates space for compassion. I've started asking myself a simple question when I notice I'm feeling off. When did I last eat? More often than not, that's the answer. Not because I'm weak or because I lack discipline, but because I'm human, with a brain that's still running very old software. The next time you can't think straight and you're hungry, I want you to pause and notice what's actually happening. Your brain hasn't broken down. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's prioritizing survival over sophistication, immediacy over abstraction. The problem isn't that this system exists. The problem is that it's activated by signals that no longer mean what they used to mean. Your empty stomach triggers alarms designed for a world where hunger meant something much more serious than "I skipped lunch." We can't turn off this ancient wiring, but we can understand it. We can work with it instead of against it. We can recognize when we're in that state and make allowances for it. Because the truth is, you're not one person. You're a whole collection of different states, each optimized for different circumstances. The you that emerges when you're well-fed, rested, and safe is just one version. The hungry you is another. And both are real. The wisdom is in knowing which version is showing up and treating yourself and others accordingly. Thanks for watching.